So I've been covering this topic for a couple of years now, more so on my Facebook than on YouTube, but I've been saying for a couple of years that, unless the church really hones in on this issue and takes ground for Christ on this issue and gets ahead of it, get behind the eight ball or whatever language you want to use, pastors and Christian leaders are going to have to play catch up. And, here's another example of that. I'm seeing more and more, reform types talk about this, like When We Understand the Text, and now Justin Peters. Rarely do we see, like, some of these big organizations or leaders in the Christian space cover this topic. But when they do, and I've been saying this for a while now, it's kind of a bang-up job. And, what was it last year? I think Wretched Radio covered it. They did one video on it and it was really bad. And I respect all these people, don't get me wrong. Living Waters covered it. I think it was about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, either 2 or 3, but also same thing. Really not a good job, but they're not covering it like they should. And I think this is the next greatest battle of our age. Kind of like how false religions start up, Mormonism, Jehovah's Witness, or false ideas like evolution. It's been a worldwide deception for a long time, right? And just, as a side point, with evolution, I think I made a video about this where I wanted to, but that doesn't mean that it's end times, guys, okay? Just because it's a worldwide deception doesn't mean it's end times automatically. Anyway, let's read what Justin Peters replied to here. He posted this on his Facebook, well, obviously Twitter as well, but he posted this image on Facebook. That's where I'm reading it from. But anyways, he's replying. I just want to focus in on this part right here. Whoa, researchers say dozens of crashed UFOs have been recovered with four different alien species on board. And then his comment up above is, so if I'm following, these aliens have technology so advanced that they have mastered faster than light travel, breaking all laws of physics. There's something I want to say about that too that I didn't get to. But anyway, only to come here and have dozens of these technological miracles. What? Have their alternators go out? Have their radiators overheat? Run into a tree? Come on. So it comes from a very skeptical standpoint, but what I will point out is, again, like these leaders who have lots and lots of followers, they're not going to take this issue seriously. And I made a comment here. I'll read it. I hate how Reformed Christians, or just Christians in general, but you would think that Reformed is the cream of the crop, really have no idea how to talk about this subject and only just adds to the stigma. They don't even understand the issues. There is an easy response to this that everyone in the UFO community understands. It just shows how far behind Christian leaders are in talking about this. And now they have to play catch up because they've never paid attention. And then I also had more to say, of course, because I always do. It's not being clever, making the same point countless others have made well before you, but it's very ignorant of the facts, or at least the alleged facts. Very few people actually believe that they were crashed. Now, I don't agree that they are life from another planet, but you can theoretically still have things go wrong just like we have things go wrong in our biggest tech. And you don't know how many millions of these things could be out there. So it's kind of a breakdown in logic. Again, I'm not saying that they're aliens. You don't have to agree with some of the narrative to understand that. So you understand the point, right? I don't have to explain it further than that. I'll just keep on reading before I add more commentary to my already lengthy commentary. But more importantly, most people have stated that these are gifts rather than crashes. You can look into that. Or you can also look into that they were brought down, whether on purpose with technology we have, and there's a lot that people have said about that, or testing our nuclear weapons that could have knocked out these things, or some of these things out. And you have to understand that these things really started to show up during the nuclear age, and they hang around nuclear assets for whatever reason that we don't know. But there's a few other reasons that I can think of, and it could be a combination of things. But you will be hard-pressed to find any serious person in this topic who is a whistleblower or someone who would be in the know make the claim that it was just a oopsie-daisy accident. Again, that doesn't mean I agree with some of the narratives. I just wish Christians had some of the most basic headline reading understanding of some of the things. Because when I see Christians dialogue about this issue that we should have seen coming a couple years ago, and it's only going to get much worse, it is extraordinarily shallow conversations, and most Christians have no idea what they're talking about. And I think it's going to prove to be a massive mistake in the near future. Not saying you have to study the topic in depth, but just wait and see what's coming and how the church isn't going to have any idea how to handle it. And this person's like, how do you talk about this subject? Probably meant specifically. Let's see. And I said, Cultish, a Reformed Christian podcast is covering this. They did an episode recently and have a season of episodes, second season, coming up in about a month. That's a great way. How? But I've been studying this topic for a couple of years now and running the church locally, and I'm just seeing how Christians are having to be forced to be involved and having to catch up to this topic because they completely ignored what was going on. And you have testimony from the highest of authority, and you had congressional hearings every year for the last 4 years that most people don't even know about for some weird reason. You have Congress, and especially Christians in Congress, getting involved, and the president doing a lot of stuff, and many other people behind the scenes. There's so much going on, it's impossible to give a summary that's adequate. But now we are right at the brink of some kind of disclosure, and very much possibly some kind of deception. And these stigma-inducing comments just show how ignorant many Christians are of what is actually going on or the stakes. They have no idea. And again, I'm just kind of venting a lot of my frustrations about this issue because I really believe that this is all leading up to something big. And Christians should have been paying attention for the last couple of years. Yes, I'm a little bit frustrated with just the local Christians in my own area. I post about this on my Facebook way more than I do on YouTube, and it's the same thing. It's nothing, or some. I don't want to get too much into it, but just some of the responses when people do comment, it just shows how ignorant we are on this and how we have a long way to go. And especially when I see comments elsewhere on like pages like this or other Christian pages. It just shows how much we have no idea about the base facts. Just even understanding what Congress is doing, some of the just basic things like that, government's doing, whistleblowers are saying, things like that. But now, we have such a push for some kind of disclosure. Yeah, we got to talk about this. And yeah, this just kind of proves more to that point. So yeah, you're going to see more and more Christian leaders, ministries talk about this who have never really talked about this before. They have to play catch up. I bet you if Ray Comfort didn't do it yet, he's probably going to make a video about it, talking about it, and then doing interviews on the street and then sharing the gospel, which is awesome, by the way. I'm not against that. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of like ignorant comments though. We'll just have to take it as we go, I guess. And church is really going to take it on the chin, I think. The church is really going to take it on the chin. So we'll see.